got people to do this for me, but then I'm all done, I think, and I'm all happy, and I'm finished and exhausted, and they said, okay, but what are you going to use for the cover? And I'm like, what do you mean, what am I going to use for the cover? Don't I have this, secretary and a wife and this entourage? And they're like, no, you have to do the cover. I'm like, I have to do the cover? I don't know anything about this. And Carol's much better at, making postcards and using the art gizmo and thing. I'm not good at it. So Michael had to paint a cover for me. And so the one to the back, that's right back there, that's Vanessa Bell staring at us, next to Medusa, and that's Virginia Woolf, her sister. So my next book, which is The Bloomsbury, is about the Bloomsbury set, which is going to be about Vanessa Bell, and I already have it done. So we're probably going to put one of them on the front and one of them on the back, because my idea is they were siblings and they were adversarial, and so they're going to fight with one another, and I thought that would be a cool thing to do. And then the D.H. Lawrence is that one, and this one was sold. This was a painting that sold for like $500, so that's done. And then, what else? Luna is home, and Gertrude Stein. Where's Gertrude?
Gertrude.
Gertie somewhere?
Gertrude, she's
She's
outside.
in the hall. Gertie is in the hall, so check her out, because that was the cover for the other book. All right, so I'm going to shut up and read. I will tell you, though, the sections, okay, so that you'll know what sections I'm reading from. You'll probably figure it out, but okay. So I'm going to start out with some things from The Wizard of Oz, okay? And like I said, I wanted it to be a little different and not the same old, so this starts out that way. The first one's called Courage. It was the spirit of the lion gnashing its teeth, biting through a new leash. All day at work, trees leaned into the road, lonely as fishermen. Inside a leather-bound book, stories swarmed and became bees. Samson stuck his hands into a carcass, licked honey off his fingertips. A lion crawled off into the forest to die. Between his ribs, a hive pulsed like a young heart. Bees strolled each white bone, wanton as a railroad track. The summer we turned 20, we followed the train all the way through the small towns of New York State. The train hummed like a bee in the ribs of that old story. I wondered if you could hear the train's whistle from where you are, whether you were tucking a sleepy body into bed. I pictured you sitting outside on a new love's freshly painted porch. You'd be moving your black queen 3 spaces forward, contemplating your next move, eyeing her last rook. I carried sharp scissors, and each time the sun sank, I cut a strand of shiny hair. I braided it and set it loose to wind, knowing birds would weave it to nests. Crows became my courage teachers. In spring, when we were no longer speaking, I walked along each railroad tie and listened to finches, or nuthatches, titmice, or juncos. A lighted match. A crow's eye flares like the flames I dread, but at the end of all suffering is a skin I can roll myself into. Be it rags or a borrowed man's shirt, I am put together with bits of a discarded life. While crows are my enemies, under each wing is a darkness that transports me over a yellow ribbon of stone. I could swallow it like a snake if I were powerful. My personal tragedy is having no brain, not knowing what will happen next. If I were a hayseed, maybe I could escape through some tyrant's mouth. Instead, my irony is I am always being dropped back into my troubles. The fields near here have been taken over by midnight feathered demons. Would they be turned into quills and India ink, I could stop their taunts with parables. Yet they remain a plumed hand, fanning a crop of possibilities. Days are my harvest. I am better not to see the earth ripped open like a box of bad spells. I remain stuck on a cross. Crows strut through my day like distractions, making me wish I could somehow wise up. corn. Knowledge is the best and safest treasure to acquire. L. Frank Baum. I'm ashamed for what you believed your riches to be, transported through a rapidly sputtering God. This mother is no lady. Hair whipped bouffant mad, she shrieked her fiendish yawp, delighted in her glory. She peels your eyelids back, and now you look down at the earth, mesmerized by colors. Wands of golden emerald scepters were riches you ignored. You beg mercy to the queen of corn, knowing these kernels were swaddled topaz souls. Even their silk-lined blankets decree them holy. Who are you to believe otherwise? A hick among monarchs. You shudder at her wizened toes when your house lands on top of her. Still you meant her no harm. She was the witch who rapped at the neighbor's door, demanded all the sugar in the house. A small-town gossip planted stories to the press. A storm becomes the miracle that managed to do her in. A honey thief, she cruised the guests at the November table. They were all left seduced. She is the great lady who deigned to tempt the hired help. Each summer begged forgiveness. These lands of emerald wings, ruby eyes. The garden is all-knowing. The sky, a crystal ball. Dusty flats were shoes you knew you could depend on. What made you trade them in for better? Just this morning, pigs were born promising us bacon. Slaughter is of little consequence, with garden nails scrubbed clean. The earth's abundance kept you drowsy and satisfied. You could have been voted the first woman on earth. Meanwhile, the town assembled a coven of high heels under a wolfish moon. Cobwebbed skies of autumn always leave you lonely. Dragonflies shed their safe summer wings. You arrive at a city littered with green-mirrored tiles. Robbed of your cab fare and your best ruby slippers, you wonder how on earth you'll get back home.